After the success of 1978's Dawn of the Dead, raking in $55 million in the box office, plus significantly more in home video sales worldwide, a sequel was almost inevitable. It would, however, take a further 7 years of production before it would grace the big screen, and it would definitely not disappoint. Day of the Dead is the closing part of George Romero's original zombie trilogy, and was released to relatively high expectations back in 1985. Romero described the film as a tragedy about how a lack of human communication causes chaos and collapse, even in this little pie slice of society. And he really isn't wrong. This is a terrifically bleak and overwhelmingly dark film that is a complete departure from the more whimsical elements of Dawn of the Dead, and really pushed the boundaries of what was allowed at the time. The film takes place predominantly in a military base and follows a group of scientists and soldiers who are hunkered down in an underground shelter, trying their best to survive around mounting tensions. The scientists are pulling double duty as a search party by day with the aim of finding as many survivors as possible, and by night they're trying to either find a cure to the current zombification outbreak, or at least a technique that would allow them to domesticate the undead. The soldiers, by contrast, are working to protect the scientists, and it's clear that while this order was given some time ago in good faith, at this point the soldiers would be quite happy to just let them die. It's unclear exactly how much time has passed between the zombie outbreak and where this film picks up, but it could be assumed to be weeks at minimum and at least a month based on elements in the film. But as a result, this past time has taken its toll on both factions. The science department is threadbare and on the brink of psychological collapse, as illustrated very vividly by Dr. Frankenstein Logan, a completely mad doctor who's long since lost any semblance of sanity and is now operating on the undead with an attempt to effectively turn them into pets. The soldiers have also long since lost it, with patience over results from the scientists getting thinner and thinner, and their frustration at quite literally being there out of obligation to following orders and nothing more, causing quite a lot of fallout. Many of them have equally gone quite mad as well, with an absolutely astounding performance by Joe Pilato as Rhodes really taking this story to the next level. There isn't one scene in this film where I don't imminently fear for all the cast members around him. If there's one thing this trilogy gets down to an art, it's being able to write really decent, genuine tension between contrasting opinions, and here it's absolutely nailed, with a genuinely well-written, well-paced and well-executed script that in many ways even surpasses Dawn of the Dead. The narrative is much more complex, and while the previous films dealt with a small number of people dealing with insignificant everyday issues, this film quite literally takes logic versus emotion to its absolute logical conclusion. As it continues to live up to the standards set by the previous films in this trilogy, once again I found myself mesmerised by incredibly fluid scenes that flowed effortlessly into one another, and dialogue that felt incredibly naturalistic. The zombies also finally reach their peak development in this film, as they finally get the makeup and effects absolutely spot on, and their backstory and biology is finally formally put out there. They look, move, sound and feel completely authentic in this, and it's amazing to see them appear on such a massive scale that easily eclipses both the amount in Night and Dawn combined. It's just a shame the scale of the opening scenes isn't replicated across the board, as for the most part we mainly only see the zombies for the rest of the movie in minimal numbers stalking food in the mine shafts and being poached for experimentation. I also absolutely have to mention the practical effects in this film, which quite frankly are groundbreaking and absolutely hold up even during modern day viewings. Savini's handiwork really shines through in this film, which features some of the most creative and over-the-top uses of practical effects that I have seen in a good while, with zombies walking around quite literally with their guts pouring out, and some zombies with limbs chopped off shuffling and bleeding very vividly. The core cast are absolutely superb in this film, with Laurie Cardille's Sarah arguably being one of the best cinematic representations of women that I have ever seen. 60s Barbara was a wimp, Fran was a strong heroine but was largely out of action, 90s Barbara went too far and ended up basically stopping short of being the Terminator, Sarah here is an absolute perfect blend, often leading the scientists and really playing an active role in pushing along their plans, while also being tough enough to deal with the kind of crap the soldiers do to her team. All the while at the same time showing that she's ultimately a woman who works and thinks differently than all her male counterparts. Add to this that she's currently going through a very difficult period with her boyfriend, and you really get a feeling that this is a woman who, while putting a brave face on things, knows exactly the reality of the situation, and exactly what the most likely outcome of this is. But she's prepared for it mentally, and until death happens, she's going to make sure that she doesn't waste a second. And that's absolutely amazingly played here. As mentioned earlier, Joe Pilato as Rhodes is a genuine delight to watch and would give Dennis Hopper in Blue Velvet a run for his money in the crazy department. Howard Sherman as the zombie bub is also an absolute masterclass in physical acting, and is a pleasure to see on the screen. The direction in this film surpasses Dawn in terms of scale and operations, with some incredibly well choreographed zombie sequences, and some fantastic cast placement that really helps to sell the total finality of the entire situation. Though one of the areas I do think it is rather lacking in when compared to Dawn is the cinematography. It's by no means awful, but they've sacrificed quite a lot of the more experimental shot setups, cutaways, and more diverse camera work to create a completely stripped back work that relies on its effects and good direction to pull it through. But this can't go unnoticed. This in turn has had a knock-on effect with the editing, which suffers as a result as well. The really nice planned cuts of Dawn are nowhere to be seen in this film. Though admittedly I will say that the cuts in Day are significantly much more precise and refined than those of the Romero cut of Dawn, which does help give it a real boost from a technical standpoint. Also mirroring Dawn here is an astounding use of lighting. Whereas Dawn relied heavily on sanitised artificial lighting in the mall scenes to both make the mall look as realistic as possible and to add an uneasy tension to the production with very shadowy selective lighting for the backroom scenes, a good majority of this film implements fantastically shadowy lighting that really adds an element of the unknown to a good chunk of it. This is then contrasted by brief moments of ultra-bright, top-lit clinical lighting for the bunker scenes, which, as anyone who's familiar with a hospital waiting room will testify, adds a great deal of unease and discomfort to proceedings. There's even a quite subtle, probably even unintentional nod to Dario Argento in this film towards the end, with the cave systems being lit in beautiful blues and reds, giving a fantastic Suspiria-esque vibe. Adding to all of this was one of the best film soundtracks I've ever heard, courtesy of John Harrison, with pounding synthesizers creating a tone and style that just absolutely screams the right side of the 80s. It's a truly brilliant piece of work and one of the few original soundtracks that I genuinely love to listen to. It's really well crafted, and while it might not be the most iconic, it's certainly the most listenable. The yang to Dawn's yin, this film is pure bleakness, and is to this day in many places quite hard to stomach. I personally would say it's easily as good as Dawn for the exact polar opposite reasons I liked Dawn to begin with. In fact, with either film you have to be in a specific mindset, and if you're in that headspace, these films can be tremendous fun. Day of the Dead didn't fare particularly well in the box office, and it's not hard to see why, with its absolutely unflinching nihilistic downbeat nature. And while it went on to have major success on the home video circuit, it never really quite reached the giddy heights that Dawn did. Which is a real shame, because while I don't believe its premise is as believable as Dawn of the Dead's, it's easily its equal from a technical and entertainment standpoint. Its cult status probably actually makes the film much more accessible because it doesn't come with any of the additional baggage. Additionally, peppered throughout are subtle references to its older brother. If Dawn of the Dead was Alien, Day of the Dead is Aliens. It's bigger, gorier, and has a real militaristic undertone. If you're curious, check it out.